Hello, everybody. Welcome to Prepared to Live. My name is Steve. Most people call me Chief. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 food storage tips that will help you in your long term storage game. And if food storage is something that you're interested in, something that appeals to you, something you're learning about, we have a free resource that you can get that will help you set up your food storage plan. You can grab that by going to preparedtolive.com/food dash calculator. That's preparedtolive.com/food dash calculator. And you can get a customized food storage plan right there by using that completely free tool. So let's jump into the content of our video today. We're going to be talking about that food storage. Number one, oxygen and moisture are our biggest enemies to food storage. Now, they're not the only enemies. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're the only enemies. I'm saying that they are the biggest enemies. There's also temperature, light, rodents. Those are some other enemies of food storage. But oxygen and moisture are the 2 biggest enemies by far to our food storage. The oxygen is the number one reason that food goes bad. Uh, having the ability to see or having the ability to have oxygen allows insects, larvae, all kinds of things to live in our food storage. By eliminating oxygen, you stop those things from happening. Also, um, oxidized oxidized enzymes increase the speed of chemical reactions. Those chemical reactions are the breaking down of food. So by eliminating oxygen, you stop the oxidation of those enzymes, and it stops your food from breaking down and extending the shelf life of that food. And also, oxidizing lipids attack the fatty parts of foods and cause that stench, that bad odor that many fats get when we're storing them. We call it rancid. That's because those fats are being oxidized because oxygen can get to them. Moisture causes mold and allows bacteria to breed in a damp and moist environment. So that's the 2 biggest enemies of our food storage are oxygen and moisture. By eliminating oxygen and moisture, we can extend the shelf life of almost any food that we have, any food that we're storing. Now, listen, if you're here with us and you want to ask questions at the very end, just hang on, and at the very end, we'll take questions and answer questions there when we get finished. The second storage tip is expiration dates. Expiration dates on cans, that's not when the food expires. That has more to do with quality than it does safety. As a matter of fact, it doesn't have anything. Those expiration dates on cans have nothing to do with safety. They're all about quality. The USDA on their own website says that as long as the can itself is in good shape, the food on the inside of it is safe to eat. It exists or lasts much longer, many years more than what you would normally get, many more years than what that date is on that can. So don't get fooled into thinking that just because you've reached a date on a can that you need to throw that can out. Check the can. If it's not swollen, if it's not damaged, if it's not rusty, that food can continue to be stored. That food is still edible. Now, there may be some breakdown of taste at some point, but it is still safe to eat. So don't get fooled into that whole thought process that that when that date is reached that the cans are no good. As a matter of fact, you can also get really good buys as stores pull those cans off the shelves and move them on to surplus places. By buying those, you can get some really good deals on canned food in order to up the value of your storage pantry by buying things at a discount. Everything you can buy cheaper now saves you money then, saves you money in the long run. So by understanding those dates, those are best by dates. Those are not expiration dates. So when we begin to look at that, how many times have we thrown things out, or how many times have people given us grief or said something about the fact that there are cans that are out of date? My mom moved out of her home not long ago, and my sister went through um, the cabinets. My aunt went through the cabinets, and as she was going through the cabinets, they took all the expired food, and they were going to throw it away. But we kept that food because it was just a few months out of date, and there was nothing wrong with the food on the inside of those cans. So that's tip number one: was oxygen and moisture are the biggest enemies of our food preservation systems. Number two, expiration dates are more about quality than they are safety. Even the USDA says don't throw out those cans when that date hits. As a matter of fact, all of the government agencies are beginning to change their tune on a lot of things concerning food storage. It used to be that the recommendation was 72 hours, or 72 hours of food on hand, 3 days of food on hand. Now they're saying that that's not enough, that you need at least 2 weeks food on hand. Most American households don't have 2 weeks of food on hand that they could survive an emergency. The inevitability of lockdowns coming, the inevitability of those things happening again are very high, and you need to be prepared with food at your home, because I believe that the lockdowns are going to be even worse this time, that they're going to try things they didn't. These are all experiments. They're trying to see how far they can push the general public and what we're willing to put up with. So they're going to test us. And if that testing includes that we're not going to have access to grocery stores and things like that, by having your own food on hand, you're going to be much better off in the long run. So expiration dates, oxygen, and moisture are our biggest enemies. And then the most superior method of freeze drying, by far the most superior method of food storage, of food preservation, is freeze drying. By far, freeze drying is the most superior when it comes to nutrition and duration. Freeze dried food maintains 97% of its nutritional value. 97% of its nutritional value. When you can something at temperature, the nutritional value of what you're canning reduces almost 40% in some cases. But freeze drying maintains the nutritional value of that food at 97%, and then it extends the shelf life of that food. When you just put something in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer, you're going to look at just a few months of that being good in the freezer. But when you when you freeze dry that food and you vacuum seal that food, it can last indefinitely, especially in refrigeration. But even at shelf temperature, at room temperature on a shelf, freeze drying maintains the temperature of those foods, or maintains the goodness of those foods for long periods of time. So freeze drying is the superior method. When you freeze dry food, it has a shelf life, some things of 20 to 25 or even 30 years. So freeze drying is by far the most superior method. Now, the drawbacks of freeze drying are, number one, that it's expensive to buy the freeze dry machine. But once you buy it, you can save so much money on food that's wasted. You can make your own MREs. You can do so many things with a freeze dryer. You can take your medicinal herbs, and instead of just drying them so that they last a season, you can freeze dry those herbs. Use an oxygen absorber in with them, and those medicinal herbs can last multiple seasons and still maintain 97% of their nutrition. So when you make your tinctures, when you make your salves, when you make your teas, you're still going to maintain that nutritional value inside of all of those herbs. So when we talk about freeze drying, I know that, a $3,000 purchase, people just sometimes their jaws hit the floor. But if you're really serious about preparedness, if you're really serious about prepping, I think that that is an essential investment to be able to take or to be able to purchase a freeze dryer. The best way to do it is to go in together and find a mutual assistance group. There, listen, lone wolves in the prepping world. I know that's how we read all the books and that's what we see, but lone wolves don't last very long. You need a mutual assistance group. You need a prepper group. You need a group of people to come together. And then if you pool resources, things like freeze dryers can be very economical or very affordable when we pool our resources together. So going over these 3 tips just one more time: oxygen and moisture are the 2 biggest enemies we have. The freeze dryer takes care of both of those. It removes all of the moisture, and moisture causes mold and deterioration, as well as vacuum sealing. It takes care of the oxygen issue in our shelf stable food. And then expiration dates on cans, those have nothing to do with safety. They have everything to do with quality. So take those 3 tips today and use those 3 tips as guides for your future food storage plan. If you need a plan, if you're new to prepping, if you don't really have a plan, if you're just buying stuff and putting it on a shelf, we have a resource that can help you, a free resource. And you can get that by going to preparedtolive.com/food-calculator. That's preparedtolive.com/food-calculator, and it's a free resource for you to use, where you can actually get a detailed plan of what you need to be storing based on the criteria that you give it. You put in the ages and the numbers of your family members and how long you want food storage to last, and it will give you a detailed plan of each item that you need, and then you can tailor that to your own dietary restrictions or your own desires. But we give you that plan detailed based on the parameters that you give us, and we send you a detailed itemized email list based on that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm the Chief. Remember, we're all just growing and learning as we take one more step towards preparedness. I'll see you on our next video.